Yeah, we got Rabid Mike with us tonight. Back on the attack. We're talking about the Atlanta band Mastodon, half New York band, half Atlanta band, formed in Atlanta. And yeah, so we're gonna talk about them.
Super stoked.
Anybody
Thanks
got
for having
anything
me,
to
guys.
What's that?
Super stoked. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Um, the one thing I want to say about Mastodon is back in 2000, um, I was hanging with a guy that ended up taking my wife from me, but he was in with Mastodon, and so for years I just refused to listen to these guys. Sort of like it just brought up the whole bad memory thing, but, I can't they're such a good band. I mean, I can't, guilty by association. Um, this guy knew them really well, um, was trying to get me to go see this band Mastodon, and, early on, I might have been able had that not gone that way, I might have been able to, uh, see them in a small club, but you know but that's my connection with Mastodon.
Interesting. Yeah. The early years and through somewhat related to the Terminator, who's a
Yeah.
recurring non-entity that comes up every now and then. Yeah, I have a friend who um back in the day, he was really close to Brent Hines' girlfriend. I think he kind of wanted to date her, but she was dating Brent Hines, and
Right.
she kept complaining to him that Brent kept trying to talk her into threesomes.
Oh,
He's
wow.
like, "What do you expect? You're dating a rock star."
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know. She might have known that cat that you knew, but anyways,
That's tacky.
so let's see. Pre 2000, before Mastodon is formed, Bron Daler and Bill Kelleher are in a band called Lethargy in Rochester, New York. Um, and Brent Hines is involved in Fiend Without a Face, a psychobilly band, and he lived in Alabama, and I'm not sure if Fiend Within a Face was based in Alabama or Atlanta, but I remember them. I remember seeing the posters and seeing their name in Creative Loafing. That was a psychobilly band, and then another band called West End Motel that was like alt country rock. Um, Troy Sanders was in 4 Hour Fogger. I think Bill I think Bill was involved in 4 Hour Fogger too after he moved to Atlanta. Um, and I remember them as well. I remember seeing the name everywhere. They're kind of like a noise rock, stoner rock band. Um, and
4 hour fogger?
yeah, you know what a 4 hour fogger is, right?
Well, I assume
When
it's
when you got
fogging a house or something.
Yeah, when you got fleas,
I got you.
pop open one of those cans, run out the door.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah. Um, Troy was also in a band called Social Infestation. Um, all four of these guys find themselves at a High on Fire concert around 2000. They all
That is a
notice every
great band.
Yeah, and all four of these guys go to a High on Fire concert. They're all four wearing Iron Maiden something. Iron Maiden t-shirt, Iron Maiden patch on their So they all got to talking, and that was the beginning of Mastodon.
That's great.
That's
Um,
awesome. Hey, if y'all love
yeah,
Nate, how can you go wrong?
exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. I
and
my
I know
thoughts.
I know Mike is a huge High on Fire fan. So what do you have to say about High on Fire and their influence on Mastodon, Mike?
So I got on High on Fire actually because of Mastodon. At one point, I had Mastodon up on a Pandora channel, and I enjoyed that channel because it introduced me to a lot of other bands I would never hear on FM, High on Fire being one of them, and just really liked High on Fire. Got into them enough to learn who was in it. Of course, Matt Pike is the guitarist and singer of High on Fire. Later found out about his other band, Sleep, which is also amazing. What I
Sleep
love
is
about
an
High on
amazing band.
what I love about High on Fire is it's like the Ramones and Metallica and Black Sabbath, and on some level with his guitar work, even Van Halen all got in a big tour bus collision accident, and this band was born out of it.
Right.
Um, Very punky, that's why I mentioned the Ramones. A lot of punky stuff, but then a lot of tight riffing like I would expect from Metallica, and certainly a lot of riffs that are incredibly, in a good way, reminiscent of Tony Iommi. And of course, I've come to find out Matt Pike is just worships at the church of Tony Iommi, which is a pretty good church to belong to if you play the guitar. Um, and I love their lyrics. The lyrics are mostly about, fantasy stuff he reads. He reads a lot of fantasy novels. Just very cool imagery with the lyrics, but just a great band. Absolutely love them. In fact, I'm gonna be seeing them on the 24th or 25th of this month here in town at a very small venue. I'm super excited. Uh,
Cool.
yeah, of course,
Yeah.
FM gives them no love even after winning a Grammy for an album, one or two albums back. They won Grammy for Heavy Metal Album of the Year, and FM radio could care less because they suck. But uh, yeah, I just really love High on Fire and Sleep. And again, kind of discovered them because of Mastodon. Um,
Well, and
My
that's
my
the
impression my impression of High on Fire is he got tired of playing slow all the time and sleep. It's like, "Now I'm gonna
I
play
don't think
fast."
that's it. Yeah. High on Fire is definitely a more, volatile band than Sleep. Definitely a lot more quick tempos. Um, just but yeah,
I was
the
gonna
guy's
say
amazing.
that's the, problem with FM radio is they wanna play the same, 3 AC/DC songs, and there's all these bands
Yeah.
coming out, uh, year after year, and they're slicing their own throats. Everyone's going to either streaming, where they don't hear the radio at all, which is what I do, but there's people with, uh XM radio and, they're just getting away from these radio stations because they don't play anything.
Well, I will
Yeah, go ahead,
off
Mike.
FM radio. I think it's dying. I'm not even quite sure how it's still on the air, to be honest with you. Um, I've got a 16-year-old daughter who likes, the current pop stuff, but she can't stand morning radio because they've all stuck with this morning zoo crew nonsense that's not fun anymore. The FCC ripped the gonads off that medium a long time ago. They still pretend they're making prank calls, which are not prank calls. It's all staged because prank calls are highly illegal. Um, it's just awful. I don't understand how they're on, but
Kinda
that could be a
reminds me
subject
of,
for
like,
another show.
the '80s when, mainstream mainstream music was pretty formulaic in the '80s, but underground, you had all kinds of cool stuff happening with the thrash scene and the punk scene. Well, that's kind of the stoner doom scene right now is the current day version of all that, you know? It's the stuff that you don't hear on the radio, but it's some of the best rock and roll out there, you know?
Yeah, but that
But,
might be a good thing. Maybe that keeps him on the edge, not having the
yeah, I left radio behind a long I can't even remember the last time I tried to listen to the radio, you know? What's the point? But, so back to Mastodon, you got 4 guys coming together with, some diverse influences. Uh, Braun, the drummer, is very influenced by, King Crimson and Genesis. Matter of fact, Phil Collins is his favorite drummer of all time. He goes back to the
somewhere.
Genesis yeah, the Genesis albums with, Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins drumming on that stuff. He just thinks he's the best. jazz, he's a big Buddy Rich fan, and then technical metal bands like Death and Cynic. Um, so you got that. Then Bill's influenced more classic metal like Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, punk rock like Bad Brains, and bands like that are kind of in between metal and punk like the Melvins and Neurosis. Brent's got that southern rock, Leonard Skinner influence, Pink Floyd, and then surf rock type stuff. And then bassist vocalist Troy Saunders, influenced by sludge metal like I Hate God and Crowbar, and stoner rock Caius, the mighty Caius. We got to do a show on Caius, or maybe just stoner rock in general with a focus on Caius at some point. Then they're all big fans of High on Fire. Obviously, they're all big fans of Metallica. They're all big fans of Slayer, who they shared a manager with for a while. And they're all big fans of Thin Lizzy, who Silky's wearing a shirt right now.
Yeah,
Silky's got his Thin
Jailbreak.
Lizzy shirt on.
What's my Jailbreak shirt?
Yeah. I'm wearing my Three Stooges shirt. I did not see them mentioning the Three Stooges as an influence, but
It's important
so
though.
yeah, yeah. So the initial lineup of the band was those four cats, and then they had a vocalist named Eric Sainer. And he had moved down here and eventually just got tired of living in Atlanta and left. And they had a tour lined up. And so you had Bill on rhythm guitar, Troy on bass, Brent on lead guitar, and Bron on drums, and Eric on vocals. They had a tour lined up. They were going to go all the way up to Rochester and back. They had all these gigs booked that they had self booked, and Eric quits. And they're like, well, it was intense metal and there's a lot of just screaming. They were like, we didn't know what the words were anyways. He was just screaming into the mic, so we just decided we would scream into the mic. They kind of took it from there. Mainly had at first mainly had Brent and Troy singing. Eventually, over time, Braun started picking up some vocal duties. 2001, they released a demo EP called Life's Blood on Reptilian Records. I can't find that on Spotify.
Life's Blood?
Yeah, I bet it's on YouTube. I haven't searched YouTube. Yeah, as an EP. They signed to Relapse Records. They released their debut album, Remission, produced by Matt Bales at Sound City Studios. And got Crusher Destroyer, March of the Fire Ants. It's a good, just heavy, heavy album. Anybody have any thoughts on that first album?
Well, I know when I first started really listening to them, of course, I start with the first album, and I thought I'd done this with many bands where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna check their first album out and see, and it was just so raw, it just pulled me right in. And as I
Yeah.
said, I had misgivings about ever really giving that band a shot. Um, it was just it's not their fault, but it was just a bad uh, analogy I had for my divorce and everything.
That is about the worst association with a band that you can emotionally have. I mean, that's a lot to get over.
It is. There's certain bands that towards the end of my marriage, she latched onto that were my bands, and I can't listen to them at all. But
Yeah.
no, that first Mastodon was just so good. It really drew me in.
What about you, Mike? Any thoughts on Remission?
I love Remission. My very first album was actually, oh, jeez, Leviathan, which of course is the
Hmm.
concept album loosely based around Moby Dick. A buddy of mine
Yeah, that was
mentioned
a
it to
big.
me once, and I'd gotten into a thing where a phase I'm actually still in, where I'm constantly looking for new things. I think sticking with just what you've known, whether it be books, music especially, film, whatever, I think is almost like just entering into old age and dying slowly. So I've been
Oh,
in a
yeah.
wrong phase of just always looking for new stuff. And I was asking my
Yeah,
buddy, "Hey, what that's new and different?" He mentioned this band Mastodon. I said, "Say no more." So on his word, I go to the record store, and that was the only CD they had. So I grabbed it, and within a week or two, I had the rest of their catalog, which of course included Remission. I love Remission. I, I don't know that I know the definition of prog rock, but I knew this was something I had not heard before, and I really liked it. And I've
Yeah,
just been a huge fan ever
you can
since.
you can hear all those influences mushed together. I mean, the earlier albums are, more heavy on the kind of thrash, Slayer, Metallica influence, even though there is prog elements already. And then, as the albums progress, it gets more proggy in my opinion. But they really all those influences that we listed before, you can hear them in their music.
They
Um,
just had they to me just seem to have a wild imagination, both with the
yeah,
music and the lyrics, which I enjoy. The lyrics are different, even thought provoking. But I like the lyrics. Lyrics are actually pretty important to me. I really have no as much as I love AC/DC and Van Halen and some of that, the whole rock and roll,
yeah.
um,
Rock
you
and roll
know,
party. Every
chicks and
lyrics is
beer, I'm
about
kinda over
yeah,
lyrically.
right.
That doesn't really do it for me. So I
Although
just
you
like
have
their
to s
lyrics. They're
you
very
you
thought-provoking.
you have to give Bon Scott and David Lee Roth some credit for turning those into poetry more than the average cat.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Yeah. But I know
definitely
exactly what you're
took those
saying.
before. But I like their lyrics, they're thought-provoking. I think with Mastodon, what I really like in every record so far, it's almost like that feeling after you've read a big, long novel that's been a real journey of sorts. I feel like they've taken me to a different place, um, and they do seem to push their imagination with every next record. You talk about Brent Hines' country influence, there's stuff on there that is definitely chicken picking, but it's
Yeah.
almost chicken picking on what would be a scale used more traditionally for metal.
Yep.
So really, you almost have to be really listening for it to realize he's chicken picking because it's not a country theme at all, but just that style of playing with his pick and fingers, which is pretty wild. Very talented guy for sure. Um, that I just
Yeah,
really loved, and again, I just never heard anything like it before.
you can definitely hear the country influence every now and then it seeps in like an intro to a song or something. Got this little bam, 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 and then just kicks right
well, there's
Kicks in,
a
yeah.
there's a band called Clutch that will go from
They
just
love Clutch. Mastodon cats
heavy
love Clutch.
heavy,
Yeah.
just like Mastodon, to, like, a
Yeah.
bluesy acoustic thing. It's some incredible stuff.
Yeah, Clutch is amazing. I
Clutch is
really
great.
I like Clutch a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and I put them with Mastodon, just heavy, almost Viking rock where they're just gonna sail out of your speakers and literally take over, you know? Uh,
yeah, oh, if you're not careful, they'll come through the speakers and take over your living room. Yeah.
yeah, no one is
Yeah.
safe, you know?
Ca carry your wife out the front door.
That's it. Yeah, and let you know where they're going, they don't care.
Um, so then the big breakthrough album, which, Mike mentioned, 2004 was Leviathan, that got a lot of attention. That one actually hit the Billboard Top 200, it peaked at 139. Um, uh, Killer song, Blood and Thunder, just
Oh,
I mean, the whole
That's
album
epic.
is good, but yeah, Blood and Thunder was kind of a standout track, but the whole album was good, based on the story of Moby Dick. Was it interesting that was pretty ambitious, I think, for just some unknown thrash band to make a concept album around a literary classic like Moby Dick.
yeah. No, it actually is pretty well done. I mean, lyrically, it really does tie in with the novel pretty well. Um, which again was an interesting choice. It wasn't like a horror novel or some, fantasy Tolkien-esque thing. It's just about
Right.
Moby Dick is pretty much about the whaling industry, and they managed to make a kick-ass album out of it.
Yeah.
Um, great riffs on that album. Uh, one of the I think that might have been their first video was for Blood and Thunder, and just a great creative video. Um,
Yeah, when you look at literary influences, like you think of Iron Maiden, it's mostly horror and sci-fi literary influences, you know? Edgar Allan Poe or that C.S. Lewis book that Silky was
Yeah.
talking about a couple
Yeah, or
episodes ago.
movies, um,
Yeah,
it's
but this
they
this
don't
kind of
have a lot
classic.
of they don't have a lot of chick, uh, songs.
Right, but even with the literature, I mean, it highlights what an offbeat choice something like Moby Dick is for a metal album, concept album to
yeah, I
be
mean, it would
based around.
almost have been cliche to do something about Lovecraft at that point,
Right,
or
yeah.
what have you. But to take on Moby Dick was pretty cool, and it worked. Um, it just really worked. Again, Blood and Thunder, the standout song on the record, just absolutely crushes. It is
Mm.
But
such a great riff.
Yeah.
it is an epic metal topic, this massive whale, uh, you know, and then you bring in the sound that they achieve on that record is just epic, heavy, the whole thing, it's a great topic to try to form a heavy metal album around.
Sure.
So 2006 they leave Relapse and they move they move basically to the major label. What label did Warner Reprise.
Warner
Yeah, so that
Brothers. Yeah.
yeah, they move over to Warner Reprise. They signed with manager Nick John, who also managed Slayer and Gojira. And
0.
that made a huge difference. There's a couple Mastodon documentaries we'll link in the click pit, but in one of them they're talking about how, before they signed with Nick John, they're playing clubs and, just touring around playing clubs, and the club audiences are getting bigger, maybe a few hundred people instead of the 10 or 20 people they started out playing in front of. They signed with Nick John and then, okay, well, next month you're opening for Metallica. Month after that, you're playing Ozfest. They said it
That was
was
a
a
pretty quick
complete.
quick
Yeah.
bump. Well, I
Yeah,
remember
and
too, I wasn't into them too long, and it was the next album, Blood Mountain. They were playing David Letterman. They played
yeah,
Colony of Birchmen on David Letterman one night, which I thought was really cool. You could
yeah.
almost tell not really maybe not David Letterman's choice, but, they sounded great, definitely opened them up to a bigger audience for sure. And they ended up playing him another time, and I think they were on Conan O'Brien once or twice as well in those next couple years, so he definitely was a big force for them. And I'm sure Warner Brothers probably helped too. I do have a question for you 2 cats on that. You know more about the business than I do. How does being on Warner Brothers not get you a little more mainstream? I don't mean mainstream like, after a Taylor Swift song, but like on a local rock station. How did not that not get them more exposure on that kind of platform?
Well, like, take, like, somebody gets signed to Sony in 1986 or 87, and, Bruce Springsteen is who they wanna push, and I still don't understand it. If I sign a bunch of bands, and Bruce Springsteen can sell his own records, I shouldn't be pushing Bruce Springsteen, I should be pushing, these new bands that I've invested money in. And you see it all the time. When I worked at Tower, we would see these bands come in that were amazing. Faith No More, or not Faith No More, Follow for Now in Atlanta. Follow for Now they were all over the local scene. Uh-oh.
Hey, we
Hey,
got a
look,
we got a special guest.
It's El Condor.
check out
Pimp the website.
snagsandsilky.com. We got shirts, we got sweatshirts, we got everything. We
Rubik's
got
cubes.
school supplies.
Wow, Mastodon
Yeah, we
I
rules.
hate school. Mastodon rules. Don't do school.
Don't do school. Stay on the streets. Stay
you
out of
stay out
school.
of school, kids. That's straight from El Condor's mind
Don't
right
do
there.
parent. Stay on your drugs.
Yeah. And go to
Okay.
snagsandsilky.com and buy something.
There you
Um
go.
yeah, so yeah, I mean it's uh, even Metallica, I mean they were on a major label. They got they got signed to a major label when Ride the Lightning was out. That got re-released on a major label. They had Master of Puppets on a major label. They had Injustice for All on a major label, getting virtually no airplay.
No
They had
airplay.
to
Yep.
change their sound to get to get the airplay. They had to do the mainstream hard rock album, which was the Black Album,
Yeah,
even though
with
they
Bob
had all
Rock.
this major label support. And Mastodon just hasn't done that, you know? They haven't simplified their sound for radio. And so I don't know. I mean that the labels, they don't own these radio stations. The radio stations kind of make their own choices. That
Well,
that
and
that
now
Mastodon,
I was going to say, who's calling the shots now is on streaming, and they can track who's downloading what, who's listening to,
yeah.
uh, So really, these streaming sites are just bleeding the radio stations out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think the radio stations are going the way of the newspapers eventually. I mean, I see no reason to listen to what somebody else wants to program for me and get interrupted by commercials when
well, and the
I
bigger
can do my
issue is
9-hour Mastodon marathon on Spotify. What's the point?
yeah. The bigger issue is we all have cell phones, we all have computers, we all have cars. So that wipes out 90% of uh, commercials. So there's no reason to listen to the radio.
Yeah.
No, that's for sure.
Um. So they sign with Nick John. Their career starts to change in a major way. There is a lot of media mainstream visibility that comes up. I've got notes on that, Mike. So we'll get to that really soon here. Actually, it's just not through the radio. Um, so they released Blood Mountain. Blood Mountain is a real mountain, in North Georgia somewhere.
Been there.
Yeah. So their next album is titled after that mountain. Matt Bales produces again. Uh, Guest vocals from Scott Kelly from Neurosis. This one hits number 32 on the Billboard Top 200. Um, Crystal Skull is a standout track on that. This is when they start doing Ozfest. Any thoughts on Blood Mountain from either of you cats?
Love Blood Mountain. Song for song, really great album, I think. My favorite song on the album is probably Colony of Birchmen. Just great lyrics, very evocative, great riff. Um, I just thought it killed. It just another great album. Just listen through and enjoy. And like I said, it's a journey. Um, Crystal Skull is a great track off that record. Um, just good jams.
No, they got. I feel they got better with each album. Um,
Yeah.
they really did, and just as they came along, the album covers were epic. Um, just solid start to finish each. But I feel much like Pantera, each album was better than the last one.
And I think the music starts getting more complex and interesting too, more intricate. Um, they weren't getting the radio exposure, but there was some mainstream mainstream visibility starting to happen aside from the higher profile gigs. They they got Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie. It's a Cartoon Network thing, you know. Um, they were on that soundtrack. Songs began appearing in video games like Iron Tusk was in Tony Hawk's American Wasteland video game. So they started to get some visibility. They composed the score for the film Jonah Hex in
Oh, that's right.
2010. Um, um, yeah, and so that kind of stuff started to happen. 2009, they released their second album on Warner Reprise. This one's produced by Brennan O'Brien, who's kind of a protege of um uh Rick Rubin, and he Brennan O'Brien produced Pearl Jam. He produced uh the Black Crows. He turned them from a jangly REM imitation band into a Faces style boogie rock band overnight.
He did
And
some work with Rage Against the Machine too, didn't he?
I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I
I
would
feel like
not.
that.
It's
I
just yeah.
associate that.
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
sounds right.
which
Um
their albums were always very well produced. I mean, they got
yeah.
great tone always.
This album, 2009, Crack the Sky. It's inspired by Brown Daler's sister when they were teenagers. They were really close and she committed suicide. Her name was Sky. Um, uh, Also, themes of astral projection, songs about Rasputin, who was the spiritual advisor to the Tsar and his family before the Russian Revolution, and he was a monk. He was a kind of eccentric monk who advised the Russian monarchy and was also just basically. Is your daughter still in the car, Mike? He was basically screwing all the noble women in Russia. So they'd come to him for spiritual advice, and he'd give it to them. Um,
I think that's the record too where Braun started singing. So now you've got three of
yeah,
the
well,
four
that would make
guys
sense. Yeah,
doing lead
yeah.
vocals, and I love that too because it gives them such a dimension, and a difference sometimes between songs, which I really enjoy. And they all
Well,
sounded good. They used to all sing the chorus, I guess,
Braun
but Braun can bring it vocally too, for sure.
Braun has a much more melodic voice, so he brings a different singing style. Like the other two guys is a little bit more traditional thrash metal vocals, and Braun has a real melodic voice, so it brings more kind of melody to the vocals for sure. It's got a more kind of a little psychedelic and orchestral vibes. And Josh Homme from Caius and Queens of the Stone Age guested on it. And this one peaked at number 11 on the Billboard 200. So
That's very
that was
impressive for
pretty good.
me because that's a very, I mean, that is a of all their albums, might be some of the more complex riffs. You'll have a
Hmm.
song with 40 different riffs within a 6-minute song. So for that to get that far on the Billboard is pretty cool. Um, I also think that might have been the first album where they had a lot of the studio time filmed and they released that on YouTube as a making of, Crack the Sky.
Hmm.
Great. I've always loved that kind of thing. I love seeing studio footage. I'm fascinated by it, but kind of lets you in on their creative process. But for me, which I found very endearing, they're also the four of them are a bunch of basically practical jokers. They're just having a lot of fun. They have a lot of humor about themselves and within the band, um, which I enjoy. They obviously take the music stone serious, but to see them having fun, um, I don't know, and just being funny.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
there's
It's
a
just kind of an inside of the band, and here are these albums that are fairly serious, in-depth lyrics, and they're farting in each other's faces in the studio. It's just fucking funny.
right.
Right.
There's an early documentary from 2006 called The Workhorse Chronicles, which we'll link on the Click
Yes,
Pit.
that
And
is
they're
fun.
talking in there about, they called their van that they toured in the fart box because everybody farted so much in that van that it would just smell like fart. Like you get anybody would get in the van and be like, "Oh God, it smells like fart in here."
You gotta
And so
love
they'd be, "All
that.
right, time to load up the fart box." And these
Welcome to the
guys,
band.
driving around in the fart box, and yet they're making this really literate, sophisticated music. It's a funny contrast.
Yeah, it is, and it is that contact contrast that I enjoy. Also,
Yeah.
Brand's a character for a long time. I saw them live in Denver a few years ago, and I think at that one he had Red Fox on his main bass drum. I mean, he's
Oh,
just a fun
nice.
character. He's just a character. Um, but they seem to have. I know Bron Daler's a huge Randy Rhoads fan too, and for a long time his drum kit was
Yeah, he
black
had
with
the
white polka dots as a
he had
tribute
the
to
Randy
Randy.
Rhoads polka dots on his drum
Yeah.
kit. Yeah, I've seen
Um,
that. Yeah.
but I enjoy that part of him a lot too because it's you know I don't know. I like to see people who I take seriously not take themselves that seriously. It might be why I don't like Dave Mustaine that much because he doesn't seem to have much of a sense of humor.
Uh-huh.
Not to bring up Megadeth, but
Yeah.
I like it when these guys seem to be having some fun because we're having
Yeah.
fun. At the end of
Yeah,
the day,
yeah.
rock and roll metal should also be fun.
And
I
absolutely.
100% agree.
And I like that
I
part of it.
think when you develop, uh Jesus, I just forgot his name. Just the egos that these rock legends develop. Richie Blackmore-itis
Right.
is where I was going.
Oh,
Um,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Rich. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, he's
you
apparently insufferable.
he
Yeah.
can't even get in the same room with himself, you know? Um, and apparently he enjoyed doing pranks on, everyone at their
Expense.
expense, yeah, well, like, when they did, the Reading Festival in 1980, uh, he made the band sing "Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow?" You know,
But
just
I
like
I particularly love Richie Blackmore's work on the lute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Nah,
Hobbit music he plays with his wife is,
Yeah,
pretty
no,
rough.
top
he's
shelf.
really. Yeah,
I mean,
now he was
if he's getting laid behind it, God bless him, but it's pretty rough.
he was an amazing musician, but not the most, not famous for his sense of humor at all. Him and Dave Mustaine would probably get along great sitting around being serious all the time. Um, so, 2011, they released The Hunter. This one's got shorter, hookier songs, but when I listen to it, still, it doesn't sound like an attempt at the Black Album to me. I mean, it's still got a lot of progressive elements and a lot of oddness and weirdness. Curl of the Burl off that album gets a
Oh,
Grammy nomination.
great song.
Still tracks showing up in video games like Saints Row and Rock Band. And then a live album, live at the Aragon, during that tour, recorded during that tour, that gets released as well.
Great live record. Listen to that
Yeah.
frequently. And that's another thing I want to say about. I've seen them live 3 times, and for as complex as a lot of those riffs get, those guys are just tight, just sick live, just ridiculous. I mean, as
Yeah,
complex as some of that
I saw
is.
them I saw them one time in, around Thanksgiving 2021, and it was very impressive show. Just
Oh,
musically, it
I
was
saw
just
that
this
tour.
this
I saw them in December in Denver that year. Yep, saw that tour.
Yeah, you saw him about a month later, and the
Yeah.
light show was
Oh,
mind-blowing. The light
I've
show
got
was
some great shots of
mind-blowing.
that.
It
I got there early, and I was
Yeah.
literally probably 2 feet in front of Bill Kelleher the whole show, who also just has a ton of
Wow.
fun live.
Yeah.
He's kicking his legs up, he's throwing the devil horns, he's rocking out, just having a ball. We just ate it up, and the light show was so much
Yeah,
fun. I've got some good shots of it
yeah,
actually, but just super
yeah,
tight lives.
yeah, they're great. 2013, they released the digital only Live at Brixton. Um, focus. That one's heavy on Crack the Sky material. Blood and Thunder is featured in Monsters University and Metalocalypse. Very appropriate TV show for them to show up in. 2014, they released the album Once More Around the Sun, produced by Nick Raskulinis. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. Themes of family and loss. This one debuts at number 6 on the Billboard charts. Um, rock single High Road gets a Grammy nomination. And probably more accessible than the early heavier thrash oriented stuff, but again, still weird and odd enough for me. I don't really consider any of this stuff a sellout. It's just exploring a little bit more kind of melodic material on Once More Around the Sun. Um, but it's still just weird, odd Mastodon version of melodic, you know? You have any thoughts on Once More Around the Sun, Mike? Or Oral Silky? Hey, Mike, I think you might be muted. I think you might have to unmute yourself. Hold on. Let me see if I can unmute you.
No, I'm good. Sorry.
Yeah.
I forget the name of
There
the
we
Yeah.
song,
go.
honestly, and that pisses me off. It might be Motherload, but it starts off like with a 12 string, fast, and it breaks into the heavy guitars. I just love that. That's like my go-to wake up in the morning track, man. I love that song. Great record, great album. We haven't talked about their album art. Their album art has always just been ridiculously good. Just fun. The kind of albums where when you get the vinyl, you just look at the art while you listen, and it just enhances the whole experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think Silky alluded to it, but yeah, I mean, the album art is great. You don't have any crappy album art like some other bands. I mean, they put a lot of thought, I think, into the putting together a piece of art. A lot of thought, obviously, into the musical arrangements, a lot of thought into the lyrics, a lot of thought into the album art, and then when they go out on tour, I mean, they obviously the light show, at least the tour I saw, was amazing. Ton of effort and thought was put into that. It's like everything's very special to them. They're not just gonna sleepwalk through something and try to grab a few quick bucks. It's just not how they operate.
No, they definitely spent some money on their
Yeah.
overall presentation. Just a big fan. I know we'll get to it. I'm very interested to see what the future holds for them.
Um so 2015, more mainstream culture exposure, even though it's not FM radio. They have a cameo in Game of Thrones season 5 as wildlings. Um, I've I've seen the whole Game of Thrones, and I didn't realize Mastodon had a cameo in one of those episodes. It's season 5, episode 8, called Hard Home. You get Mastodon as wild savages.
Nice.
I did catch it because
And they
I'd
were
read about it prior to seeing it, and I saw all those later
right.
on DVD, so I had some advanced
Yeah,
knowledge. And it's a quick little cameo, but it's pretty funny. Brent pretty much looks like one
yeah,
of the wildlings all the time anyway. But
yeah.
them having
Yeah,
fun,
it
and they
totally.
had a song played during the credits on that episode called White
Yeah,
Walker, which you can find
White
on
Walker.
vinyl,
Yeah,
and that vinyl's got a great drawing of a White Walker on that skeleton horse thing, which is really cool, and it's a great song. It's like a very doomy acoustic song, but the lyrics are about the White Walkers. It's pretty tight.
yeah. So
And
I
their
mean,
music goes
they found
along
their
with that
ways to
whole
get out there.
fantasy genre.
One
I,
thing I
I
wanted
agree.
to add that we missed, if you have Call of the Mastodon, that album is on, Spotify. That compiles the Slick Leg EP and Life's Blood EP.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
So,
So it is on Spotify. It's
yeah,
just combined. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Call of the Mastodon.
I
Yeah.
got that on vinyl, actually. I
Good
That's one
good
band I have
catch.
everything on vinyl for those cats. There's not a lot of bands I'll go out of my way to spend the money on the vinyl, but they are one. I just love it.
So for us, Mike is bopping in and out, but I've noticed sometimes on the recordings everybody's clear, even if somebody's
Okay.
bopping in and out on the studio. Um, yeah, you got the TV cameos. 2017, they released the album Emperor of Sand. Brendan O'Brien producing again. Um, Concepts of mortality and time.
Well,
They
specifically on
want to.
that one of Cancer, in
Uh,
between the prior album and that one, all 4 of them had personal cancer drama in their lives.
Good
Um,
God.
so, and of course, not to get too personal, but my father dealt with cancer 5 different times in his life. So that album, it seems really hit for me. Great record. It's a great record.
and that one they actually won a Grammy for Sultan's Curse, best metal performance. So the people that don't matter, in my opinion, who give out meaningless awards like that, finally acknowledge them. So, it's something. I think Kurt Cobain got a Grammy and put it on his toilet, or maybe it was a MTV Music Award or something. But like when he got it, where he kept it in his house was in the bathroom on the toilet.
That's about where it belongs.
Yeah, especially from MTV.
Or the Grammys. I mean, I
But I
just think
mean,
it's all garbage.
Kurt Cobain's disdain for getting um, in the spotlight. Well, don't be in a band. They got huge. They got huge, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
his if you're gonna if he were still alive, if he wasn't murdered or whatever happened, um, he would be living
Courtney
in a
took him out.
huge house, bitching about being rich. It's like, what do
I
you want?
totally When they were around, that was my issue with Nirvana. Don't be on the cover of a corporate magazine wearing a t-shirt that say corporate magazines still suck.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you
don't
really
do
think
the
they
interview.
suck, you're not gonna be on the cover of Rolling Stone. But,
Yeah.
I gotta admire him for putting the Grammy on the toilet. And I think he was a brilliant songwriter, but, um, 2018, Nick John, who basically, as we mentioned, their manager, Nick John, he was also the manager for Slayer. They opened for Slayer a lot because of that. Um, he was kinda like their father figure, and in a lot of ways kinda mediated conflicts within the band and gave them advice, and they really trusted him a lot, and they really cared about him, and he died of, pancreatic cancer. Speaking of cancer, right? Um, Passed away at age 54 on September 8th, 2018. That was a big deal, and, that was really rough for them. They released a Stairway to Heaven, cover, um for Record Store Day as a tribute to him. They called as a EP that had Stairway to Heaven Live and Stairway to Heaven Studio, and they called it Stairway to Nick John, but it's basically
Yeah.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah,
And
I've got that
that's
on vinyl. That's an
yeah,
interesting one because I will tell you that's probably my most disappointing thing they ever did because I expected them to put some of their spin on it, and it really is a straight ahead cover,
it's a very faithful cover. Yeah, yeah,
which I
I
get.
agree.
And I think the thing too was he had dared them that they wouldn't do it, so they
Right,
did it too, kind of tongue in cheek, like, well, yeah, well
right,
now we're gonna do it. But yeah, that fucked them up. That next, the making of not to skip ahead, but their next album after that is Hushed and Grim,
right,
and the making of that documentary, talking about him throughout that, all 4 of them at different times are real busted up. I mean, he was really a part of their family for sure. Um, and I think, you know, I don't know, might have I think might have helped put Brent on a spiral of a little more substance that he should have been playing with, but
That
that's a little
has
bit
a
of a summation.
yeah,
But
that
yeah,
has
they
occurred to
were
me
all
that
real busted up about that.
Well,
would Brent
certain
would
bands certain bands lose their, the Beatles lost Brian Epstein, um, the Stones lost Ian Stewart. Certain people just were the glue, and,
yeah, yeah,
it's
and it has
sometimes
occurred
very
to me,
tough.
like, and I know it was, like, 7 years later, but w if Nick John had lived, would Brent have been kicked out or whatever the hell happened there?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knows? Um, they release, 2020, they release, Medium Rarities, which is a compilation, live tracks, covers, and B-sides. Speaking of faithful covers, that has a really good cover of Orion, Metallica's Orion,
Yeah,
on
Yes.
there.
That's a great
that's
cover they
that's
do there
Yeah.
too.
fantastic.
So, uh, any thoughts on that album, Mike or Old Silky? The
For
Medium
me,
Rarities?
it's a fun album. The Orion is amazing. It's lights out. Really, really good. Pretty straightforward cover of it, but very, very well done. One of my favorite Metallica songs to begin with. Um,
Yeah.
and just a lot of fun. Orion, and I like a lot of Metallica's instrumentals. Orion always reminds me in general, I wish more of these bands would do instrumentals. Um,
Well, I'll tell you this, and it's on streaming. They do they have Once More Round the Sun entirely as an instrumental.
okay,
The
that's interesting.
It's on streaming. I put it in the playlist, and it's so cool to hear just to hear them jamming out on those songs, um, without lyrics.
They have a couple of their albums, all instrumental versions. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's
on the streaming, yeah.
cool way to
But,
hear.
yeah, I just made a separate, Mastodon Rarities playlist, and it's just all those instrumental tracks. There's a couple single instrumental tracks and then one acoustic, track at the very end, but, there's a lot of
That's
instrumental stuff. If go through all the stuff on Spotify, you'll find a bunch of instrumental Mastodon stuff. Um, 2021, they record, which you mentioned, Hushed and Grim, produced by David Botrill. Themes of Grief, dedicated to Nick John. This one debuts at number 13 on the Billboard 200. I mean, they have not peaked creatively, at least, or commercially. They haven't really peaked as of their last album, which was 5 years ago now, but it debuted at number 13. Um,
Yeah, it's hard to believe that album's 5 years old because I listen to it frequently. It still feels very fresh for me. Obvious the theme of loss and moving on from that and coping with it and going through the stages of grief are just super evident throughout the lyrics. Um, without being super morose though, if that makes any sense.
mhm,
Um, a lot of it does have, uh, uh what I would call the silver lining, if you will, or, you know, the cloud with the silver lining. There's a song on there called Gigantium, which I think is the best track on the album.
Hell
Also, lyrically, um, my father died. When did that album come out, Craig?
2021.
I apologize, Snags.
That's all
2021,
right.
yeah, so
20,
my dad died in 2014. And definitely that's had something that had a profound effect on me. I will tell you that, and I don't like the word closure very much. I don't know that it really exists, but for me, that song Gigantium, when that album first came out and I got it, of course, right away, I probably listened to that song 3 or 4 times a day for a while. That is as close to uh what some people would call closure as I've ever come to that event. So super meaningful album for me, that song in particular, um, just very, very powerful. And that was the thing, their lyrics, and that's when I say I care about lyrics so much. I want lyrics to mean something to me. I think that's really why when I first got into Metallica, they stole my heart. Because I love James's lyrics. Um, so anyway, yeah, not to get too serious on everybody, but yeah, that one really got me and really got me over that hump, even though it had been already 6, 7 years. Um, it definitely helped get me through that process. Just a tremendous record, very heartfelt. And like I said, that one, the making of that one, the documentary of that on YouTube or whatever, um, there's several times, each of them individually just talking about Nick John, the manager, they really get very emotional. That was just a real loss for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
as Silky said so poignantly, maybe that was something that was also a problem in the band long term, as far as just kinda that straw that stirred the drink was gone.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you think of Peter Grant dying in the mid-70s, would Zeppelin have even gone on? You know? Um,
Yeah.
That's a perfect analogy. That's a perfect analogy.
or you take, Bad Company, when Peter Grant did die, Bad Company just completely derailed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zeppelin definitely relied on him, no question.
Yeah, but on, Hush and Grim, I like Pushing the Tides, Savage Lands is one of my favorites on there, Gigantium, of course, but, um
Gigantium also, by the way, he does a Brent plays a solo at the end, maybe one of his best recorded solos. It is
yeah.
just filthy.
I like Pain with an Anchor that opens the record, I
Great
mean,
song. Great song.
just filthy, um, but anyway.
So 2025, March 7th, 2025, Mastodon announces on social media that the band and Brent Hines had mutually decided to part ways, and they expressed gratitude for their time together. Hines disputed this in interviews and social media. He said he was forced out or kicked out, calling it non amicable. Um, Later said he was glad he was not in a shit band anymore with horrible humans. So,
Yeah,
and
that's a hell of a thing when bands break up, there's 2 sides to a story, and then there's the truth, and we'll never
yeah,
know. Much like, Bill Ward, deciding, "Oh, I'm not up to touring," and, is what the rest of the band said, and, uh, it
he that's not what he said. He said they
he
weren't
says it
offering him
was,
enough money.
money,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, that's tough, it would be tough for me as a band member to just sit back and watch a fellow band member getting fucked, um, and not joining with the rest,
Yeah.
that's not cool.
Brent had been on record saying that a couple things that touring, the constant touring they were doing, felt like a prison sentence for him. You know,
Mhm.
just like every year you're out traveling, staying in hotels, playing the shows, and he probably wanted more time off than they did. The other thing is he's real big fan of country music and surf music and rockabilly, and all he can play is metal, you know? Even though it's
Yeah, and that's the
probably
pity of his, not to jump ahead of you guys, but of course, anyone listening to this is probably aware that he died a few weeks ago. I think he would have done a lot of really interesting things outside of Mastodon. That's part of that loss for sure.
Yeah,
yeah,
He
he
had
would
done
have
a really
he
fun album with, and you guys can help me with who else was on it. Now I'm not gonna remember, but, um, Giraffe what were they called? Giraffe Tongue Orchestra? And it was him, and it was the guy who replaced Lane Staley for Alice in Chains,
really?
and it was somebody else real prominent. That was a fun record, just really off the beaten path, wacky rock.
So it's got Will from Alice in Chains
Yes.
singing, and then
Everybody on it, though, was prominent from other bands. I just
oh,
cannot remember who now. Fuck.
yeah, the album's
Um,
called Broken Lines.
Well, tell us who's on it, Silky. What do you got?
I'm trying to here we go. Here we go. So you get Dillinger Escape Plan, Ben Weinman, Mastodon, Brent Hines, William Duvall from Alice in Chains, Death Clock bassist Pete Griffin, and the drummer of Mars Volta, Thomas Pridgen.
yes,
That's pretty
fun
badass.
record to check out. Also,
Yeah.
Brent was on another record, called We Are the Seagull Men, and that had, Danny Carey from Tool on drums.
Holy shit.
That is you I'm surprised you haven't heard of that,
No,
No,
Snags. That's a fun record.
I
The
bet.
Seagull
Yeah.
Men is a really fun record.
Seagull, man.
So he was into a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is a pity.
Well, what comes to mind is again Clutch, how they have EPs and different songs that are straight blues, very like old 30s, 40s country sound where you can almost hear the rocking chair in the background and just heavy acoustic and it just adds to how talented a band could be. I'd love to see Metallica do some just crazy thing like that, although that sea shanty, I still cannot get with, but, you know, I think he would have gone on to do some very interesting stuff for sure, so
Mastodon replaces him with this cat named Nick Johnston, guitar virtuoso. They play at the Back to the Beginning farewell festival for Black Sabbath and Ozzy on July 5th, 2025. They do a killer one of the highlights of that whole show, cover of Supernaut with a drum
Yes.
circle that includes Tool's Danny Carey, Gojira's Mario, Duplantier, and Slipknot's Eloy Casagrande.
and I
Um,
wonder on that cover if there was a problem with the vocals because they only sing the last half of the song. It's all instrumental, and then, the drummer comes in and picks up some of it.
yeah,
So
I don't know, but
it was kinda confusing.
it was very focused on the rhythm. That song, whenever John Bonham was hanging out with Black Sabbath, they were good friends with Zeppelin, and he'd run across them when they're in the studio or whatever. He would always jump on the drums and say, "Let's play Supernaut. Let's play Supernaut."
That's
That was
great.
John Bonham's favorite Black
Yeah.
Sabbath song.
Well, it's one of my favorite Sabbath songs,
Oh,
and
me
Yeah.
too,
Bill
absolutely.
Ward's original the drum at the cymbal work at the beginning of that is just sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
So
whole yeah.
nice, man. It's one of my favorite riffs of all time, actually.
I
I
saw
love
I
that.
saw them with, Ian Gillan, when he was in the band, and when they played that song, Ian Gillan whips out the conga drums, and it was just spine-tingling amazing.
That's very
Um,
cool, man.
yeah, but to see, Mastodon playing that with those drummers added to the lineup, I just thought that was
Well,
fantastic.
uh,
That's cool.
so I
Yeah.
I rented that, when it played on my birthday weekend. Um, I watched that back to the beginning, and it was rough because just with each band, they're playing your soundtrack to your life, just touching on different things, and it was so cool to see Mastodon open that entire, day, 10 AM over there, and you're like, "Fuck, this what an opportunity for them," and they were established, and we all know Mastodon, but I thought, "How awesome for them to be able to open this show," and
Yeah, from
You
playing
know
in the clubs of Atlanta to, Aston Villa Stadium,
Yeah,
Black Sabbath farewell concert. I mean, that's a
Crazy, man.
quite an
And
arc.
the poignant thing to me is, and this is my opinion, but I think it's actually justified, without Sabbath, would any of those bands exist?
No,
exactly.
they wouldn't.
And
E
that what made
No.
that so goddamn special.
Yeah.
exactly.
I argue Tony Iommi is more influential than Eddie Van Halen, uh, when it comes to just the people who actively play his style. He
The
just
people who, heard those songs and begged their mom and dad for a guitar, fuck yeah.
Yeah, the people who actively play his style, he created an army that took over the world, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
I would
insane.
definitely I would agree with that completely.
Yeah.
My mom was surprised how choked up I was about Ozzy. Um, but Black Sabbath to me is just essential. It's
Well, it
fucking
it
essential.
it
Yeah.
is it is incredible that someone could be in such a huge band and then have their own solo career that's just as good because Robert Plant got up on stage to play his new record, and you're like, "Okay, when are you gonna play some Zeppelin?" Um, I don't know of too
Yeah.
That's
many
for sure.
I don't know of too many people. I mean, I could s you think of, Phil Collins had a run, solo that was,
David Lee Roth had a little bit of a run, you
yeah,
know.
Get a bump. He got some play. Yep.
but
Yeah.
No question.
nobody like Ozzy that I can think
Ozzy
of.
Ozzy just went out and became a legend. His band was already a legend. He's left
Uh,
for
Peter
dead. They
Gabriel
literally
Peter Gabriel.
they literally thought he was gonna die. They left him by the side of the road, and Sharon picked him up, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
created Ozzy Osbourne, the solo artist, is just as big a deal as Black Sabbath. It was just a different decade, you
But
know?
so
Yeah.
July 5th, all these bands, all these people come together. Ozzy gets to perform, for his fans and literally say, this is it," and then he's dead 17 days later. It's so powerful. I don't know that anyone else got to, go out like that. Yeah,
No, hell of a send off. No question
it
about that.
it's
Yep.
just,
Yep.
but
No,
it
no question.
and as quickly as Hines was out of the band and they got up, Mastodon opened that show, and they were just as powerful as a, you know, uh, without him there. Um,
It's gonna be very interesting because he was a major songwriter for
yes,
them. I mean, he wrote a
yes,
ton of
He he
riffs.
he
He
sang 30
sang.
he sang 30% of their songs. I mean, it's not.
Great stage presence. I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see how they do without him. I'm rooting for him for sure, but
Yeah.
I'm very interested. It's a you
This
know,
the songwriting is gonna be interesting. I somewhere I saw or heard that they are
and
working on new.
they're due a record then at this point.
yeah,
If it
Well,
was
I
21,
I saw somewhere they're working on new music with Nick Johnston now, so it'll be interesting. But flash forward past the Ozfest or the
could it
Black
be
Sabbath.
could we be looking for Mastodon phase 2 of Jazz Odyssey?
Yeah, right. Um, so uh, so basically, you get past the Black Sabbath farewell concert. You get past Brent Hines leaving Mastodon. Um, August 20th, 2025, me and Silky and Mike have a little text group where we text insane shit to each other on a regular basis. Silky drops an article in that text group. Brent Hines dies in motorcycle accident. It might have
Yeah.
been August 21st. It might have been the next day when you dropped that in there. It's just we're both like, Mike and I are both like, holy shit. And
Yeah, man,
then
that took the wind out of me. It really did.
the more I read about it, I realized this happened 3 blocks from my house at a at an intersection I go by all the time.
That's
I've se
crazy.
I've since, checked it out, and there's a little Brent Hines memorial. People have been leaving flowers and stuff,
Is
but
is
he
that a is
basically
that a bad intersection, or what do you think
it's,
happened?
you remember the intersection when we were driving to Dottie's, and I flipped off that redneck
Yeah,
who was walking down the street, and we're
yeah,
stuck at a stoplight,
yeah,
and the
that's right
redneck
by the
opened the car door and threatened to kick my ass?
yeah,
That's the intersection.
that's
That's
right
the
by the
intersection.
that's right by
Oakland Cemetery.
Boulevard and the
Yeah,
cemetery. Yeah,
that's exactly where he died.
fuck.
Um, he's on a motorcycle. Um, an SUV turns in front of him. He didn't see it apparently, slams right into it. He checks out Dwayne Allman style.
Jeez.
Um, yeah, it's just terrible. The band posts on social media. We're in a state of unfathomable sadness and grief. Brent Hines passed away as a result of a tragic accident. We are heartbroken. Next day, they're performing in Alaska. Dedicated the show to him as one of the most creative and beautiful people that we've ever come across.
And
And
that's
that
what
brings us up to
sucks.
date.
You never know what's gonna happen, and then, in a band situation, you finally shit reaches a breaking point, and, "Well, fuck you, oh, yeah, well, fuck you," and then a few months later,
And
they're
then he
dead,
dies.
and you're
Yeah,
like,
I
Yeah.
know.
"Oh, shit."
Yeah.
And that's you
Yeah.
know, that's gotta be the hardest thing.
Yeah, he was 51, right?
Yeah, he was 51.
I'm
Uh
48, man. That shit just hit me.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
no, that's
I'm
rough.
54, bro.
A little bit about Nick Johnston, the new guitar player. He's from Canada. He was a solo artist. Featured his albums have featured people like Paul Gilbert, Marco Miniman, Guthrie Govan, Brian Beller. Basically a guitar virtuoso cat. His influences include Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eddie Van Halen, Yngwie Malmsteen, and Jeff Beck, Joe Satriani. If you look at him, he looks like he would be in Mastodon. Just a hairy mountain man look. Doesn't look like Joe Satriani or Yngwie
Right.
Malmsteen at all. He's younger than they are. He's 38 now, so he's about 10 years younger than the cats in the band. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But the whole Brent Hines leaving the band. I mean, we all watched this play out in real time over the last couple months. Brent Hines leaving Mastodon. We're all shocked about that. And then, months later, he's dead.
Well,
You
shit
know,
talked him hard too, man. He shit talked him
yeah,
pretty hard.
Yeah, there was
he
some
was
bitterness
not
for
happy
sure.
with them. And
Um, and
yeah,
what sucks is now with him gone, I imagine the guys in Macedon, that's gonna sensitive subject if somebody knows that they were we all know when we're out of line, and I I hope nothing was said that they regret. I know one of the statements was, "Hey, we grow apart," and, you know,
yeah, yeah.
and if that's the case, then, it wasn't meant to be, and but the bitterness, it just makes you wonder, and it sucks when, you never know when something's gonna happen.
Yeah, what was that band that Brent Hines got in a fight with? I wanna say Biohazard, but it wasn't Biohazard, but, uh, I'll look it up on AI here, but, I think it was around 2014. He's drunk, he starts a fight with a couple cats from this band, and they basically beat him to a pulp where he's gotta spend months recovering, and they're not sure if he's gonna be able to play guitar again because of the damage to his brain.
They beat Brent Hines up?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he got
hold
beat up real bad. I remember that.
Brent
Fuck.
Hines fight. Let me just, search that real quick. Yeah, it was after the MTV Music Video Awards in Vegas. Um, he gets in a fight with a couple of the cats from System of a Down,
Mm.
and he was drunk. He said they started it, but the surveillance footage shows him starting it. and they're actively trying to calm him down, and then he starts taking swings, and so they start taking swings back, and he ends up with, like,
Hey,
almost
shouldn't have
brain
left the ketchup on the table.
I know. Basically, he ends up with all brain damage, and they're not sure if he's ever gonna be able to play again. He eventually recovered, but he's got a history of just being an agitated person,
Yeah.
and it sounds like if you try to objectively look at the whole thing, he was just too difficult, uh, getting too difficult, and they had to ask him to leave because of that, and he was
Well, I imagine
livid
System of a
after that.
Down imagine
Yeah.
System of a Down feel pretty fucking bad too. Um,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of time has passed since then, but, that something like that happens, everybody reevaluates their
yeah. Remember
interactions.
that
You
time
know?
we put this guy in the hospital? That sucks.
Yeah,
That's rough, man.
yeah. So it's a sad place for the band to be in. Nick John passes away 2018, and then, 7 years later, Brent
Yeah.
Hines falls out with the band and then dies. It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, it'll be. I'm interested to see, like I said, how they sound with the new cat. We'll
Yeah.
find out, I guess, here before too long. But they're, I would say 21. It's 25. They're, I don't give a shit about a band's frequency of production, mind you. They should do what they want to do.
Yeah.
But on some level, you're due a record. I mean,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
I
say
I saw
26.
somewhere that they are working on music. They are working on
yeah.
it.
This coming year, there's, quite a few bands that are, about to put stuff out. Um,
Well, I just saw. I think I texted you guys. Testament's got a record coming out
yeah,
October 10th.
yeah, 2 songs are available now to stream that are just filthy
I haven't heard them yet. Their last two records have fucking crushed.
well, this new one, I heard 2 songs from it.
I
It's
consider
great.
them underrated personally.
Oh, 100%. People talk about the big 4, and I
I've always thought it should be the big five and include them. I've
yeah,
never.
or I mean, to me, Testament is, a lot
I would listen to Testament more frequently
over
than I will ever listen to Slayer or Megadeth, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
And I'm not shitting on the other two bands.
no, no.
I just think Testament's that
Yeah,
much better.
and Chuck Billy's got such a great, vocal range, it just grabs you, you know? Um, but one thing I'm looking forward to, Judas Priest, uh, started covering War Pigs live, and apparently Sharon has come to, Rob Halford and said, "Hey, what if you guys did a studio version and we do it as a duet with Ozzy?" So they're about to release that very, very soon. Uh, Judas Priest doing War Pigs where Ozzy's doing some of the vocals. So that'll be
That
So
would
is
be
interesting.
that
cool.
just that's just added in from his original recording
I believe it'll either be I mean, he certainly sang it enough
where they
solo.
got vocals somewhere? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
What do
not
you guys think of Faith No More's cover of War Pigs?
I think
that's
it's
my favorite
fantastic.
Sabbath cover
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
I
Um,
liked
I
it.
love it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do like, Lamb of God's cover of Children of the Grave, and also Soundgarden's, cover of Into the Void, where they sing, a speech that Geronimo gave to, Congress. Um, you look that up, it's Into the Void, but the lyrics are literally this speech that, Geronimo gave that,
Oh, that's cool.
Chris
That's
Cornell
cool.
sings to the tune of Into the Void, and it just it's
That
a
sounds cool.
yeah, it's
Chris Cornell was amazing. That's a
yeah.
whole other fucking
Yeah,
subject.
yeah.
Chris Cornell, could clear a room with a beer fart. He was a savage.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, yeah.
Is
All
it
right.
true that him and his wife got on a fight and he just got off the phone and killed himself?
That
Who
was
knows?
that's
Yeah,
the story I heard, but
Uh, My wife almost drove me to drinking to death, so I guess I shouldn't.
yeah.
I'm
yeah.
not judging anybody, that's for sure.
No, it can
Mastodon
happen.
stole Silky's wife, so
Yeah,
There
you
you
know.
go.
Actually, it was The Killers
um
because that's another band, she apparently got baxed and God knows what went on, but
yeah. All right, well, folks, that is the story of Mastodon. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and just want to say it's been a while since Rabid Mike has been on the show. He's done a lot of classic episodes with us, and I'm glad to have him back. And
Can
Well, I
I
was
say,
a little
can I
nervous.
call the Roger Corman show was the highlight of that
it
discography?
was the
Is that
Yeah.
Roger Corman show was
I was
great.
getting
oh
little
my
nervous. I always get a little nervous though when you start walking, with the camera going. I'm not sure where
Yeah.
you're
No,
going.
my favorite incident from Mike being on the show with us was when he took the laptop in the bathroom and starts taking a whiz.
Yeah.
We're hearing the
Oh god,
luckily
that's so bad.
we didn't get the visuals, but we did hear him pissing and we decided to leave it in. So
Yeah.
there's
Well,
that.
That's
I think
I've got all the computer skills of Mr. Magoo, so
I
I'll
that's
think
take
why I
I'll
that
take
said
the
was
I get
rap
a little
on that.
nervous when you start walking. I don't know where you're going.
I think that was the Star Wars episode, but anyways, or the comic books episode, one of those. But we got Rabid Mike scheduled. He'll be back soon. We won't give away what it is, but it's coming up. So that'll be good. A lot of shit
Is that the one we're
scheduled.
doing on the banana splits? Is that the big banana splits
Yeah,
extravaganza?
yeah. 1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana,
3
4.
banana 4.
Yeah, yeah. That'll be coming up. So
You've never
eh,
seen me angrier than when I got that whole DVD set and it was for fucking Region 2 and wouldn't play. Oh my god.
you
The
got all the banana splits and it wouldn't play.
I bought it off eBay and sure enough, it was for fucking Region 2. I
Do you
was
Sounds like
still have
something that
it?
would happen to Silky.
Do you still do you still have it?
I think so, somewhere. All my shit's in a garage right now. My soon-to-be ex-wife just boxed all my shit and threw it in randomly. Nothing's labeled.
Dang.
I'm living like a fucking hobo over here.
Well,
That's
Mike,
Going through
terrible.
boxes looking for my shit.
seriously, a PAL Blu-ray player costs just the same as a regular DVD Blu-ray player, and a PAL player will play any of that shit.
Yeah,
And
if
that
you
I
search region free Blu-ray
yeah,
player on Amazon, you can find them
yeah,
pretty
I got
reasonably.
tired of picking shit up that wouldn't play, and I'm like, fuck it. So the one I have in my living room plays anything, and it was $140. It's
Well, I'm
not
terribly disappointed that the Geneva Convention didn't cover that shit in the first place, but
Yeah,
well,
that should have
whatever.
been worked out during the Nuremberg trials.
the son's a
You
bitch.
know, they should
Goddamn
have got
right.
that shit fixed.
Yeah, I
Oh,
blame
that's
Leela.
classic. Well, I
I
love you guys. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun, and we'll see you back soon. Stay on after we say goodbye, just so we can wrap this up. But goodbye, world. All of Joe Rogan's listeners and even more that listen to
we
our
will
podcast. We know you're all out there.
we'll
So
see you next week, kids.
yeah, peace out.
Deuces.